Hi, this is Bethany Gonyea of the Albany Peace Project, and I'm here with State University of Albany Professor Dr. John Foldy, who's one of the lead researchers on this Albany Peace Project. Just for people to bring them up to date, the Albany Peace Project is a project starting January 1st in 2014, where we're asking for hundreds of meditators to send positive intentions to the Albany area, and Dr. John and I are going to be measuring changes in the number of assaults. To encourage you to find out more about this research, we'd like you to go to the website. It's albanypeaceproject.com, and there are 4 free gifts waiting there for you. First of all, there's going to be a PDF talking about the brain and meditation. And if you've ever struggled with meditation, that PDF can help you choose a perfect meditation style for you. Second of all, you're going to get a download of a meditation that's based on the latest intentional research to help accelerate manifestation in your life. Number 3, there's going to be a song by Mark Shepard. That's a theme song of the project. It's called Be the Change.
It's really quite good.
Absolutely. It's very inspiring. And then finally, we've got Dr. John's book, The Primacy Model of Consciousness. And I'm here today to interview Dr. John to have him tell us about his book. So can you tell everyone how your book relates to the research project?
Yes. The book is an explication of 4 paradigm shifts. And the third paradigm shift is called the Galileo holographic model. And that's essentially the model that generates the hypothesis that we're testing. We're following Lynn McTaggart's lead in terms of doing research on how your thoughts can affect probabilities of events. In other words, can intention have an effect on physical events? We've chosen the Albany area because that's where we live. And we're, trying to get as many meditators to have peaceful intentions towards this Albany area. And we have access to statistics, and we're going to find out, for example, the number of assaults. We're going to find out if there's a statistically significant effect through this intention. Now, the book is about 4 paradigm shifts. And to really understand the significance of this, because we had an earlier conversation about getting your kids to eat vegetables or play piano.
Right.
Go ahead. When you were talking.
Well, I've been...
It's frustrating because...
Absolutely. I've been at this for, a year now, educating people, and I'm realizing that, yes, there are these paradigm shifts that people need to kind of jump over, and Dr. John does a wonderful way of explaining it in his book. He's going to be giving a free talk at Unity in November, also with Numinous. So he's going to be sharing with us just this big quantum leap that many of us need to take to understand this research. What I believe is that of all the science we leave the next generation, there's nothing more important than this research, because what it does is transfer power back to the individual and to have us recognize that we don't have to feel so victimized about world events, that we can vote with our hearts and make a difference. And so Dr. John's book explains kind of the journey we all need to make and how important it is for those of us who have made the journey, who really get this level of understanding, how important it is for us to kind of take ownership of that understanding and demonstrate to others the power that we actually have. So can you explain how your book rounds that? Tell us more.
Sure. In the 1960s, Thomas Kuhn wrote a book called The Structure of Scientific Revolutions, and he coins the term paradigm and paradigm shift. And the metaphor that we use is, it's like wearing a pair of sunglasses. If you look through the world through a gray pair of sunglasses, the world appears gray. If you look through a rosy pair of sunglasses, the world appears rosy. Which is true? Neither.
Right.
But we are born into a cultural paradigm.
Right.
And in the book, we're looking at examples of paradigm shifts in the past. Like before Copernicus, we assumed that Earth was the center of the universe. Now we know we're not. Right. Before Darwin, people assumed creationism. Now it's evolution. Before Einstein, we assumed that space-time is absolute. Now it's relative. Anyone who's ever used a GPS, they're using relativity, because the faster you move, the slower time goes, and it has to be factored in. So anyways, the book is looking at 4 paradigm shifts. The first is the Galileo model. The second is holographic model from physical science. Then we combine the third paradigm shift is Galileo/holographic model. And the 4th paradigm is called the primacy model of consciousness. Now, I'm not going to be going through all the science because it takes a little bit. But essentially, the assumptions that the Galileo model and social science challenges, we've assumed up until now, until the Galileo model, that human beings are inherently unpredictable. We're just too complicated. We can never explain, predict, and control human behavior. Well, I can't predict you on an individual level, but any marketing or advertising campaign up to this point has used the forehead method. You take your hand, you put it on your forehead, and say, geez, I hope this works. In other words, they don't have any clue what the actual effect of their message is going to be. They hope it's clever and it works.
Right.
But now we can map out what people think, and we can know beforehand the actual effects of any message strategy. So Galileo was a major breakthrough in social science. Now, in holographic theory, there's a well-known concept in physics called entanglement. If you take two subatomic particles with the same spin, you separate them in space, you change the spin of one, the other one changes simultaneously. Well, that implies that if we're at some level, every information is connected, all energy and information is connected, that there's got to be some higher level of reality. Like the example is, imagine looking at two flat TV screens and there's a fish going one way and a fish going the other way. They look like the same fish, but they're going in different directions. Well, unbeknownst to you, in the next room, in three-dimensional reality, it's one fish in a fishbowl, two different camera angles. Right. So there is a higher dimensional reality where these things are fundamentally connected. So this notion of having two levels of reality is a breakthrough in physical science. The third is just taking the implications of the Galileo model, that your mind is kind of a wave pattern, your events or your hologram that you experience is a wave pattern. And just like two pendulums locked in phase, two pendulums going opposite, eventually they get locked in phase. Or women living in the same house, their cycles match. It's called rhythm entrainment. Right? This guy, Christian Huygens, developed the first pendulum clock, was the first scientist to point this out. This is a principle in nature. Interacting, oscillating systems tend to become phase locked. So that's our hypothesis. Your thoughts and events are phase locked. So therefore, visualization, we know, affects your health. Visualization affects sports performance. But we've done research both at the micro and the macro level that you have a group of people visualizing some event that you can actually alter the probability. All right. Bill Tiller at Stanford looked at people visualizing either raising or lowering the level of pH in water. And they were able to do it by a full unit. Right. We looked at macro level events, things that you can count that happens to you on a day-to-day basis, where you get a piece of junk mail in the mail, or if someone calls your phone and it's the wrong number, or if you find a coin on the ground. Okay, these are countable events. We had a control group just keep track of those events for a month. We had another group visualize getting more junk mail or more wrong numbers. With the case of the coins, we told the control group to actively look for coins, but we just told the treatment group to visualize getting more coins. Right? The people that visualized got so many more events than the people that just kept track, that the odds of it happening by chance range between 0.02 and 0.006, which is above the 0.05 level of, we need to be 95% sure that A affects B. Right. Now, we don't know the functional relationship. I remember one of my colleagues said, yeah, well, you can visualize the heck out of being Superman. As soon as you jump off the tower, you get to reinterpret. Yeah, I said, yeah, Don, but you're taking baby steps here. We're trying to figure out, if there's any effect. Right. So the implications, it's not a new idea. It's like the same idea as saying, well, you reap what you sow. What goes around comes around. What you assume becomes manifest. There's some type of karma or justice. But as soon as you open up your mouth and open up that can of worms, then you gotta say, well, then why do bad things happen to good people? And, what happens after you're dead? It's like, maybe the fourth paradigm shift looks at the possibility that maybe consciousness is not just an epiphenomena of the matter in your brain. Because people that have had near-death experiences or have had hypnotic age regression experiences where they've talked about secret hiding places and they found them, things that they wouldn't have access to in their normal focused personality. Right. So it led this guy to write a book, Thaddeus Golas, and he puts out the hypothesis, well, maybe consciousness is not secondary, maybe it's primary. And just like there's three forms of matter, solid, liquid, and gas, there's three forms of consciousness, matter, energy, and space-time. Right. And Golas said, Einstein already showed matter and energy, the same stuff, E equals mc squared. Right. He threw the gauntlet down and says, we need someone to show that matter, energy, and space-time are all connected. Right. And we've worked out the mathematics to show here's an equation that links all three. And we put out a hypothesis. It's kind of like if you're a caterpillar, you live in like a two-dimensional world, right? It's not until you morph into a butterfly that you experience the three-dimensional world and can look down on your old, the limitations of your old form as a caterpillar.
Right.
So we're looking at the possibility that instead of me just watching the John Foldy movie and you're watching the Bethany Gonyea movie, imagine being in a movie theater watching 30 movies simultaneously and seeing all the connections between them.
Right.
And we have a hypothesis of how these could be possibly linked, based on this 8-model 7-orbital shell this guy named Wilson, Robert Anton Wilson, developed that kind of links the ideas of Freud and Carl Jung and Maslow all into this one assembly of these different brain circuits that get activated. And the notion of meditation and visualization, they're kind of flip sides of the same coin. Once you learn to participate actively in this kind of intentional, conscious living, then life becomes a joy. I mean, you broaden your scope and depth of your self-concept, so eventually nobody pisses you off, and then you spend your time creating. And how cool can the Bethany hologram be? Mm-hmm. Well, yours looks pretty cool to me, so, if you engage in this, life becomes a real joy.
Absolutely.
So it's just a way to scientifically understand it.
So that's why John was so excited to do this project, and we're anxious to move forward with it. We need your participation. Don't get intimidated by all the big words. His book is you can, don't worry about it. You can follow it, but you also have the math in there as well. So thank you very much for listening, and please go to albanypeaceproject.com to download Dr. John's book, and we will be in touch. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.